Welcome to a Thursday edition of Sunrise Extra. Brenda's on board, Rod right there in the middle. Gang, we are coming up on, if you want to call it an anniversary, the anniversary of a 6-month anniversary, to be exact, of when really I'd say the pandemic sunk its teeth into us, really got its grips on us, because it was the second week of March of this year when things for all of us in some way, shape or form changed, right? I mean, I think it's safe to say that everyone's life has been changed either a lot or at least a little since that second week of March, and here we are, September 3rd. So this is month number 6.
Oh my gosh.
I remember, you know, obviously we're all in the same boat. We thought maybe this will last through the spring. Maybe early summer. I don't know a whole lot of people who thought it was going to go this far in terms of the way they were going to work and the way their kids were going to be going to school and how all that would be so different for so long.
But you remember what really thrust it into everybody's consciousness, and it was the NBA.
Right.
It's when they had that arena full of people, and then they found out that one of the players tested positive, and then it was like, what?
Right. And on that day, if it wasn't that day, it was the very next day, the NCAA canceled its March Madness tournament. On that day, there were some flight restrictions and travel restrictions put in place here in the U.S. Tom Hanks, the news came out that Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep, absolutely.
That they had contracted coronavirus. I think they were in Australia maybe at the time shooting a movie. So all of this news kind of hit us at once, and it was like, whoa, this thing is real, and it's having a worldwide impact, and it's having a Northwest impact, Pacific
Rod,
Northwest.
do you remember back when all this was happening, and you, me, Nina, and Drew were all talking, I think it was on the air, and we were like, okay, everybody guess, when do you think this will be over? And we were saying things like May. I mean, all kinds of guesses that were totally wrong.
Right, yeah. No. I remember thinking that, well, okay, so April we're going to be, you know, locked down, so to speak. I remember thinking in my mind that we have lost April, and that in May we would at least get word at some point in May when things were going to be back to normal. How foolish was that? And then, you know, a memory that will always stick with me, because I'd never seen this in my lifetime, was, and you mentioned it, was the day when the NCAA basketball tournament said, we're not going to have it. And what popped into my mind was, in my life, I had never seen big business, which is what that tournament is. I had never seen big business take a seat to anything before.
Right.
And I will never forget that. That to me was just amazing.
And how many big businesses, so to speak, have taken a seat since that time as well, right, Rod? So it just continues. So we're asking you to chime in this morning. You can jump on any one of the pages that you're watching us on right now, be it Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and share your comments with us. We're watching you live right now. I am anyways on the Facebook live stream. I've also pulled up the text line. So there you see that on the screen, 503-226-5088. I can keep track of your text with my trusty laptop here in front of me on this Thursday. So here we are, like I said, 6 months in. I will say one thing. In March, maybe it was early April, at the latest, the first week of April, I was talking with Amy Brooks, who was one of the editors on our Sunrise show. She was already working from home at that point. I was calling her from home because I was working there too at the time. And she said, you know, Drew, my husband doesn't think any of us are going to be going back into that building, talking about KGW, until January. And I thought, well, that's crazy. And now I go, wow, he was right. Our company just announced the fact that most of our employees, talking about our business employees, people who work in other departments of KGW, they have been working from home, and they will continue until the start of the new year. So there you go.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some of your comments, the folks who are watching on our live stream on Facebook. And Valerie Fletcher says, what's changed? The amount of work I can do, the income I have, and she says, I've become lazy.
Really?
Really? Just because you're at home more?
Which is surprising to hear, because do you remember in the beginning of this when people were talking about, man, I've never done as much yard work as I have in the month of April. We were blessed with really nice April weather. I think, Rod, you can back me up on that. When the pandemic hit and we were really sticking to those at-home orders, and no one was going out and really doing anything back in April, we had all this great weather, so everyone got in their backyards and started doing some outdoor home improvement projects. When we posted this on Facebook, by the way, earlier this morning, we usually let our viewers know ahead of time what the conversation on Extra is going to be. We had a simple post that said, 6 months later, what's changed?
Yeah.
I would love to get in there and just put, what's changed the most, because I think you would look at that and go, what hasn't changed? Right? Or really everything's changed. But what we're asking this morning is, what do you think has changed the most? And also, some change, I know, has been for the better for some people. So if you have experienced change for the better since the pandemic really got its grips on us, let us know what that change has been.
Uplift us. How about this from Jennifer Taft? Good morning. I love seeing your comments on here. We appreciate you joining the conversation. She says, I knew it was going to get strange when we were in Disney in February and it started getting odd. She saw people at the airports with masks. That's before it was a thing, right? It was really strange when you saw that at first. Then by March, did I ever think I would be in my house all summer? Girl, I feel ya.
I was just trying to get a hold of that.
Gina Carlson says, saving so much gas. Gina Carlson saving so much gas. And, you know, I lease, we have 2 cars, I lease one of them. So when you lease a car, they give you a mileage cap, right? And then for me to go back and forth to KGW, it's 32 miles round trip. So I'm usually fighting to stay under that mile thing. And now I'm like, man, if we ever get out of this, I can drive wherever. I got miles to burn.
Exactly. So Jeff Lucas says, Trump said Easter. He may still be right, as Easter 2021 is still a possibility.
Do you remember that? I think you shared it with me, Brenda. That guy that was going viral online. He had a terrific impersonation of the president, and he was giving his Easter Sunday speech.
That's right, I do.
Anyways,
I don't remember what his name was, but that was hilarious.
He was like a nobody, but he had a terrific post back then around Easter time. Anyways, I digress, because we do have some of our regulars watching right now on Facebook with, as always, terrific comments. That includes our friend Jennifer Taft. Good morning, Jennifer. She says, so many ducks, so little time. She says her waistline has changed, not for the better. Socially distancing from the fridge has not gone well for her, she says. And then Renee Robertson, I see her name on the stream all the time. What I did not realize is that Renee is in Panama.
Oh, wow.
And it sounds like, yes, she says, I've been here since March. And get this, Renee says, since March, women in Panama have only been allowed to leave the home Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 2 hours at a time, total prison life. Women in Panama only allowed to leave the house 3 days of the week for 2 hours at a time.
Wow.
Not just prison life, it sounds like some sort of ancient life.
Yeah. And then, Tammy sadly says her husband has lost his business, and then her mom passed away, and I'm reading her comments, and, she can't go to the gym, she couldn't see her mom in the hospital, and it's just been awful for her. And it's a reminder that, the 3 of us are kind of in a bubble in that we've been very blessed. Our paychecks have kept coming, and it's been more, speaking for myself personally, it's been more of an inconvenience than not, but really important to take a moment and remember how many people really have. It's been just a
they're
horrific
hurting.
time.
Oh no, absolutely,
absolutely.
Sharing her thoughts this morning.
If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'll tell you that back in probably by April for sure, even at the late stages of March, I questioned whether we'd all still be here together doing this, because our business has changed too. TV is not generating the kind of advertising right now it used to, because the businesses that advertised on TV are not doing as well as they once were. So it's a trickle-down effect. But absolutely, Rod, just to back up your point, 100% grateful that we have this job still and we can do this every day.
So Margot, good morning to you, says, I'm agoraphobic. I go outside all the time now because nobody's there. So I guess that is a plus for her particular situation. Unusual, but yeah. Let's see what else. Brandon Bachman says, hi, Brenda. Hi, Brandon. I have been avoiding TriMet buses, restaurants, gyms, and he wants to know, when will life get back to normal? But his family is staying safe. Brandon is one of the people. He takes great photographs.
Yeah, he does.
It to us all the time so we can show them.
Brad Jenkins watching us live on Facebook right now. Good morning, Brad Jenkins. Brad says he's been saving lots of miles on his car, and he's watched about 1,000 movies since mid-March. That's why we did that whole March movie madness back in March. We knew that everyone would be in their basements or in their living rooms sitting down to good movies. We had no sports to watch. We had no events to go check out live. That's sort of changed, I mean, honestly, and even the comment you just read from one of our viewers talking about no one being outside, I would say what I've seen has been quite the opposite. in terms of, you go to the beach anymore on a Saturday or Sunday, and those beaches can sometimes be packed to the point where you think, I better turn around.
Are they socially distancing? I told you we went out to Sauvie Island the other day just to take a drive around, and it looked like, the parking lot was packed, but when we kind of peeked over to the side and saw the sandy area, it looked like people were trying to socially distance.
We went to the beach, Rod and Brenda, my family did last weekend, to a spot I had never been to on the Oregon coast. I'm almost afraid to say it out loud because it was, I don't want to say empty, but you could definitely social distance at this beach. And it was a really beautiful beach. My gosh, I'm like torn right now. Do I say it or don't I say it?
Oh, come on, tell us.
Now you have to.
Come on,
so you go to Tillamook, right? You go to the cheese factory or the visitor center. There's not really a beach in Tillamook.
Yep.
But if you drive towards the ocean from Tillamook, you end up in Oceanside. Maybe you both have been there before. Maybe you haven't. I had never had. It's a really beautiful beach. Huge rock like coming out of the beach, which separates part of it from the other, and there's a tunnel that goes through this big rock that leads you from one side of the beach to the other. Really cool. But it was also, again, not empty, but there was not any huge crowds there, which made it nice last weekend. Oceanside.
There you go.
Drew, do we know, is the cheese factory open?
So we stopped there on the way home,
Drew?
and
You
you cannot go in for tours, and you cannot go in to sit down for any sort of snack or meal, but you can stand in line and get the ice cream still. Yes, must wear a mask, must stay socially distant in the line, but they have the ice cream.
So Rhonda says, I guess no money to spare. Things are tight for a lot of people. We just ran a story on our news today saying that lawmakers here in the state are holding, this multi-day hearing, hearing from people who have not gotten their unemployment benefits yet. That is a huge deal. Rhonda says, I'm a hair designer, and it has hit my industry hard. Even though we're open again, the people aren't coming like they were. Yeah, it's like such a trade-off. I was reading something the other day. I think it was a New York Times article, actually. I should post that. I thought it was good. It was a commentary, and they were talking about people kind of had it wrong about all or nothing. And they just said that you really needed to make choices. And they used, like, going to get your hair cut. Do that, but maybe you shouldn't also go get your nails done or get a massage. It's kind of like pick a thing and then kind of mete it out judiciously over time. Don't do everything at once.
Right.
Pick one thing and go.
That's great advice. Great advice.
Katie says, I've been an essential worker this whole time, working in care. My clients can't go anywhere as much. I miss outings. Sorry, Rod, go ahead.
No, I was going to say another business the other day. I didn't have anything to bring them, which is the problem. But my dry cleaners. Typically, think of all the people that, like me, would go to work, and I choose to have my shirts, professionally cleaned, and every now and then I got to toss a suit in. Well, nobody's going to work. And Sean, Miracle Cleaners, it's a great local business up here, really nice people. They do a great job. But, they're suffering because, I hardly ever go to the dry cleaners anymore. In fact, I only went to say hi, which
well, that was nice of you, at least.
That made Sean.
I'm sure he would have liked you to bring a shirt in or two, but yes, I'm sure he appreciated the hello. I had the same experience with we have a great dry cleaner by our house, Cascade Summit Dry Cleaning, which is actually owned, believe it or not, Brenda, Rod, you've been in the market long enough. Do you remember the name Steve Arena?
Yes, absolutely. He was a sports guy with Channel 2.
Person,
yes.
Over at K2.
Exactly. For a long time there. Steve and his wife got into the dry cleaning business like 20 years ago. I think before he got out of television. And they have a few of those. But I never see Steve. I always see his wife. They're super. And but they said the same thing, or she did it at least to me, Rod, about how business is hurting because people, even if you're working, if you're not going into an office, you're probably not going to wear the nice button-down shirts.
I am jealous about that, having to report for duty every day. I still drop stuff off at the dry cleaners. But I do kind of, now that I've been doing this a while, I kind of like the idea of nesting at home for a little bit. I wish we could trade off. Like sometime it would be at home, sometime it would be in the office.
Yeah, no, there was some advantages for sure when I worked at home. And Rod, I'm sure you still enjoy some of those work from home advantages. And then there's the other side of the coin. Rod's told me already, there's parts of being in here that he misses. I mean, you can't, that forecast that you put together and the way you build the presentation, it's a lot harder to do from home, I know, than it is if you were here in person.
Yeah, the remote program we use is just really clunky, and you really can't get in and do anything fancy like we can do when we're sitting at the actual real computer, I'll say, back in the station. And of course, I think all of us got into broadcasting in part because it's fun. In that big studio with all these hunters and being wired.
I think it's very appropriate, Brenda, that his remote location is crapping out on him as he tries to explain how it doesn't always work well when you're not in the studio. Look at that.
Oh,
that's what happens when you don't show up in the studio.
That expression, though. That is so awesome.
That is
Please leave
awesome.
that there.
That can't go away.
It'll come back. Director Brian, do not take that down. This is my favorite thing that's going to happen today. That
we can
is
stay
awesome.
up here. No, Brian, don't. Brian wants to take it down. Do not take it down, Brian. We have at least 4 minutes left on Extra, Brenda.
That's
Rod will stay
fantastic.
right there between us like that for the next 4 minutes.
Okay, yeah, no, do. Let me just read this comment from Gary as we look at our dear friend Rod there. I guess he's this way. Gary says, listen to this, Drew. For fun, I've started live streaming my piano playing. Never would have done this if not for COVID. And after 20 years of isolated playing, it's been the thing I really look forward to.
Gary is the viewer's name?
Mm-hmm. And I can't pronounce his last name.
Fair enough.
Zolnoki.
Well, Gary, use the stream to your advantage. If you want to list a link to where people can check out that
That'd
live
be
stream.
fun.
Oh, look who's alive.
Rod is back.
Rod, do you know you were frozen for like the last 90 seconds?
You know what I did? You know what I did?
What?
I stepped out to get a tuna fish sandwich.
Oh,
Drew.
don't even.
People don't even know what you're talking about.
No.
That's a reference from like 35 minutes ago.
Oh, I know that. Our lunch poll.
Yes.
Our school lunch poll. Yeah.
Well, glad to have live Rod back. Real quickly, I don't know, Brenda, if you've ever heard me refer to our executive producer here, Celeste. Sometimes I call her Celestial.
She is. She's heavenly.
But we actually have a Celestial chiming in this morning on the Facebook live stream. Celestiel.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, Celestial East Balson says she misses her parents. She says both of her parents are in their 70s. She hasn't been able to visit them now for 7 months, and she's really missing out on those memories that they had together, or that they would have had together over these last few months. And that's, I think about that too with my own family. My mom lives in Philadelphia. We haven't been back. And once you're honestly, once your parents get to about that age, you're thinking, geez, I don't want to miss out on any visits, right?
Totally agree. Yeah, we've seen the
Right.
grandparents socially distance. The kids have, visited them occasionally because, you want to see them, but you don't want to put them at risk.
Right.
Oh, man.
See me, but don't hurt me.
Right, I know. It's such a crazy time.
Kelly Ritter says, my teenagers are depressed and so sad about not going to school.
Sorry.
And really, we've talked about that. That could go either way. I know some kids are completely bummed out. Other kids probably are appreciating this not having to go into the building scenario. I don't know, where the majority lies, nor does it matter. But my own 2 kids, for example, have no problem with the distance learning model. They are quite comfortable with this idea of when I wake up, I walk downstairs and go to school.
Yeah, I mean, it is easy. Willie Huey says, I'm in sales.
Did
I
you guys
miss
see,
popping in at an account, taking a person out to a random lunch downtown and meeting new people each time. I get that.
Man, some great comments, some great feedback.
Yeah.
We weren't sure this morning how we wanted to take this Sunrise Extra conversation, and we thought, let's just mention this, and we'll let the viewers sort of guide us through, and you guys have. The comments continue to pour in. If you want to continue to comment on this topic, that's the beauty of this. We're going to go away as far as the live stream goes, but this post will stay up on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages all day long, so keep the comments coming.
Thanks for chatting.